What I can do for you, I'll do my best. Good morning to our viewers. I like to say that TVC has a finger on the pulse and our eyes on the streets. And here on the Trending Now segment, my team and I, both front end and back end, do our best to bring you some of the trending stories that are shaping the world that you and I live in. We begin today with some good news where Abia State Governor Alex Otti is drawing praise online following a surprise visit to a military base along Ungwa Road in Aba. Now, according to reports, the governor reportedly stopped his convoy during a routine inspection, and he walked into the base to interact with officers who were on duty and inspect their working conditions. And during his visit, the soldiers reportedly showed him faulty operational vehicles and several other challenges that were affecting their operations. Governor Otti was then said to have ordered immediate repairs and renovation works at this base, including the installation of solar lighting. Now, this emotional moment followed after the base commander revealed that the governor had previously supported him by paying his hospital bills, but Governor Otti didn't even remember that he had done this good deed. Anyway, this development has, of course, generated reactions online. Many Nigerians are praising his gesture and describing his visits as compassionate leadership. I do like Governor Otti. Let's have a look at social media. Elegbeye Femi says, Governor Alex Otti is truly writing his name in people's good books. Prosperity will be kind to him now and always. I just wish others could emulate him, but it is a pity. Baije Lee says, I just became a fan of this governor. Security isn't only about buying guns, but also about the welfare of the men and women that put their lives on the line to protect the country. And Icon says, this is a heartfelt visitation by the governor of Abia State, showing concern and care to those in arms that protects us and him, speaks volumes without even doing much. This man has transformed Abia State in 3 years than its past governments. God will protect and give wisdom to keep ruling the people of Abia. And now, team, this is a feel-good story, and I wanted to start this segment on a very good note. We always say there is a place for empathy in leadership. Yeah. He stopped at this base and he said, you know what, whatever concerns you're having, you know, I'm going to renovate this place. I'm going to give you solar lighting, and your welfare at the very least will be taken care of. But then Mr. Shomi, on the other hand, some people online are saying that base should not have been dilapidated in the first place. What if the governor had not passed? But I choose to see it as a good thing.
Well, it is a good thing, but I'd rather not see it as a case of empathy or compassionate leadership. I would rather say a responsive leadership. You know, that's what it is. It's not only the military. If you go to the police barracks, go to schools and all that, you see these signs of decay everywhere. And now we are in an era where government is now more responsive, you know, to the needs of our armed forces personnel and other civilians in our country.
If you ask me, this is what I want to see from our leaders, being very, very responsive. Because if you are put, you know, in a place of power, there are things that people expect from you. They expect a lot of empathy. They expect for you to come down to grassroots, not just sit in your car and be moving around. And that's what we see him do. When we talk about Governor Alex Otti, he's a well-rounded person. So I'm not surprised that, you know, he went down there and he was able to just look at some of their problems. Sometimes, you know, just having your governor close to you gives you some sort of relief, gives you some sort of confidence in that state again. So this is a beautiful one. And I'm hoping that all other leaders can take cue from this. It's not about sitting on your high chair. Oftentimes, you have to come down to the grassroots and also listen to the cries of the people. So well done, Governor Alex. Well done. Oh, well, as a leader, you sit on the high chair, you only see the sky, you know, and the people you are actually leading are below the sky. So it's always very good for you to come down, as Ria said. You see, leadership is also a talent. It's also a gift. Some people just go into office, and once they get there, they lose everything, that they don't know what to do. But Otti, over time, in several instances, has shown that he's a leader. Absolutely. I like that, Rihanna Tuma. Come down from your SUV and feel the pulse of the people. Thank you so much for your input. Moving on, a federal high court in Abuja has sentenced former Minister of Power, Saleh Maman, to 75 years in prison over the theft of public funds amounting to about 33.8 billion naira. Now, Justice James Omotosho convicted the former minister on all 12 counts of fraud and money laundering filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The court has also ordered the forfeiture of foreign currencies and several Abuja properties that are linked to Saleh Maman. According to the judge, Maman's absence during the judgment and sentencing was seen as a deliberate attempt to frustrate the judicial process.
Now, the former minister served under ex-President Muhammadu Buhari. In a separate development, the EFCC has also arrested the Director General of the Energy Commission of Nigeria, Mustafa Abdullahi, over alleged money laundering involving more than 500 billion naira. Sources say that investigators are currently examining financial transactions that are linked to the alleged fraud, while the commission boss remains in custody for questioning as at the time of this news. Now, these back-to-back developments are once again putting Nigeria's power energy sector under scrutiny, especially in a country where electricity challenges remain one of the biggest economic and social frustration for citizens. Let's have a cross-section of the excerpt and see what you have to say about this. Honorable Nuhu Sada says, for the first time, Nigeria delivers a China-style judgment in a major corruption case, a historic moment in the fight against corruption. Priska Ezenyiwa says 500 billion, in caps lock, billion. And this is the Energy Commission, the same sector we have been begging for stable power for decades. The very people that are trusted to fix Nigeria are the ones looting it. This is painful. When will this country catch a break? And finally, Osana chimes in. They say, what stops the judge from giving him a life sentence instead of these ridiculous number of years designed to make headlines when, in fact, he won't spend more than 5 to 8 years in prison? Team Saleh Maman, former Minister of Power, is said to have diverted, illegally diverted public funds. And like you said earlier on in the newspaper review, Ria, this was meant for the Mambila and Zungeru hydroelectric power project. He's now been ordered by the court to give back or refund 22 billion naira of that money, which is very, very worrisome. What is interesting is that he just picked up a form, allegedly, according to reports, for governorship in Taraba State, Mr. Shomi.
Oh, yeah. It's quite clear that we have cases of people who knew what they have done, who would move into one party or the other with a view to contest for governorship so that they can enjoy immunity, for some years while their crimes, get swept under the carpet. In the case of Maman Saleh, he has been convicted, so people should even spare Buhari, the blame of that he did little to improve the power sector. We now know why he has not been able to achieve that. A man entrusted with the responsibility to ensure that Nigerians have power, ended up taking the money, putting it in his own pocket. Now the our justice system has actually catch up on him, and there's nowhere to run and hide again. The case of the energy boss is something different. We need to avoid the immediate trial.
If the Mandela Project had actually happened, we would not be suffering like this when we talk about electricity in Nigeria. So this is what is hurting so many Nigerians. And that's how we ask ourselves, who are the people that we actually put into power? I love the fact that with this government, we're seeing that, we are naming and shaming these people. And I believe that once we get to do this, people will then sit upright. Because ask me, how would you divert so much funds that you knew that it was for power, you knew that it was for electricity, and you were put into power in an era where Nigeria was really suffering from electricity problems? And everyone saw you as a messiah, everyone saw you as a champion. Now just knowing that you diverted those funds, at the end of the day, I'm just hoping that he faces the full weight of the law. Contrary to what people are saying on social media, oh, he will serve 5 years and go, he will serve 3 years and go. He needs to really do his time. No matter, how old he gets out, whether it's 101, whether it's 102, he needs to actually do his time. Because for everything you do, there's a consequence, and this is the consequence for that. Yeah,
this is not a political matter where maybe another regime comes in and looks into the case. This is a criminal. It's a criminal matter, and a judgment has been passed, even though in absentia, that they found some foreign currencies behind. Shows that he bolted. When everything showed that, look, you are going to be guilty and so on, he bolted. He's looking for one country that doesn't share extradition with Nigeria and so on. And for Mustafa Abdullahi, welcome to the club. I hope you enjoy your new residence.
Toma, it's interesting to see that this administration and indeed the courts are so serious about anti-corruption that they've now ordered Interpol to arrest Maman Saleh, as soon as he is found, because he was in absentia in court. Thank you so much for your input, team.
You're welcome.
Moving on into the world of social media, where businessman and crypto trader Linus Williams, who we know as BLord, is trending online after describing his recent stay at Kuje prison as a, quote, vacation. Now, in a viral video that's circulating online, BLord spoke quite interestingly about his detention experience. He claimed that he was kept in the VIP section of the correctional facility. He said that he enjoyed unusual privileges during his stay, and according to him, he had access to a personal chef, he participated in football games, and he was warmly received by inmates who, he says, organized activities in support of him. He even compared his prison experience to an NYSC camp. He said that parts of the facility in Kuje were allegedly locked down in his honor. BLord also contrasted his experience with that of social media critic Very Dark Man. He said that VDM was held in a stricter section of the prison, and VDM was treated harshly during his detention when compared to him, BLord. Now, the businessman, if you recall, had earlier been remanded over charges linked to criminal conspiracy, impersonation, and the alleged unauthorized use of Very Dark Man's image. Have a look at this video.
Let me break it down. In Kuje, Kuje looks like NYSC camp. You know NYSC camp? Very big. Inside that NYSC camp, they have a VIP section. In Kuje, they call it segregation. It's meant for powerful people, and that was where BLord was kept. It's like a vacation. I went there, a room with every appliances you can think of. I sleep, I wake up, I sleep, I wake up, I sleep, I eat. I have a chef. Why? What are you saying? Everything I need as a human being is there. All right? When VDM went
While those comments have since triggered mixed reactions online, many Nigerians are questioning inequality within the correctional system and whether wealth or influence can sometimes shape prison experiences differently for high-profile detainees. Let's have a look at social media. Kuje prison a vacation? Ubermensch says it was meant for powerful people, in quote. BLord, you've been locked for days and you want to prove how conducive your stay was. Classism will be the death of us. Vision 2030 says, how I wish he knows that he's now an ex-convict. And Kefa says, this narration wasn't needed. Bragging about VIP prison luxury while others suffer brutality only highlights inequality and insensitivity. Silence would have been wiser. But then again, it's BLord. Intelligence and BLord are two parallel lines. Team, as usual, hopefully, even though this is a social media gist, there is an intellectual conversation to be had about perhaps inequality, in the prison system. BLord is coming out to say, I was treated like a king during my stay. Mr. Shomi, can you speak to this? If you ask me, it was very irresponsible of him to come out and say that, knowing that there are people who are languishing in jail, just even waiting for a trial, and how, crowded the prison complex in Nigeria is. To come out was very insensitive. And also, can he just let this matter die down? You're out, you're out.
Well, it's shocking that BLord could come out and be saying all this, that he was treated differently in prison, and then comparing his own experience with VDM, Very Dark Man. For me, he seems to have learned nothing from what led him to prison in the first instance. On the major issue of people being treated differently in the prison, we've always had this, and it's the same situation anywhere in the world. If you need protective custody, what they call protective custody, because you could be attacked by other inmates. For instance, you can imagine if a judge or a senior police officer gets convicted, you don't necessarily go and lock him up with other prisoners, who he may have investigated at one time or the other. So it's called protective custody. So you may have enjoyed some privilege there, whether paid for or not. The fact of the matter is not enough to try and rubbish the correctional system. It means he went in, he learned nothing, he came out, and is still the same BLord.
BLord, I used to really respect him before, but right now everything has just dropped. But he needs to understand whether he laid on a golden bed or he laid, wherever, he's still an ex-convict. He still went to prison and he's back. And sometimes I say the kind of people that, we glorify, these are the kind of people that will come out and say words like this that are not even meaningful. And that's why other times they say it's better to keep quiet than say something for everybody to know, maybe who you truly are or what you think, in your brains, because this is actually just not a thing that you have to say. You did something wrong, you went into prison, you came back. We're hoping that at least right now you do better. And also, this case is over dragging. It's all right. It's fine. Like, let it be. The conversation is a whole lot.
Well, if he did that for content, he achieved it. If he did that for controversy, he also achieved it. One thing I know about BLord is that he has a massive ego, and that ego makes him do a lot of things that you wouldn't expect from a gentleman like him. I mean, why tell us about your football games in prison and so on? You might call it a vacation, but bros, you're an ex-convict.
Absolutely. An ex-convict chasing clout. Very interesting. Thank you so much for your input, team. Moving on into international news, where fresh concerns are growing in South Africa still after a leader of an anti-immigration vigilante movement issued a public warning demanding that foreign nationals leave South Africa before June 30th. Now, in trending videos that are circulating on social media, the activist was seen confronting a migrant from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, warning that the safety of foreigners could not be guaranteed after the June 30th deadline. He also reportedly urged migrants to ignore assurances from the police and the government, insisting that citizens would take matters into their own hands. Have a look at this troubling exchange.
We are saying this peacefully. Please go to your country. 30 June is the deadline, but it's not like you must leave on the 30th of June. Yes. Don't leave on the 30th of June. Leave now, because the 30th of June, I can't control people of South Africa. The fight is not about you. Yeah, the fight is about correcting the systems and fixing our country. So we don't want to have a problem with you. Just please go. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Well, those troubling comments have sparked widespread concern online, especially given South Africa's history of xenophobic violence that targets African migrants, including Nigerians, Zimbabweans, Ethiopians, and Congolese nationals. Well, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has previously condemned vigilante-style immigration actions like the one in that video, and he has stressed severally that immigration enforcement remains the responsibility of the state and not private groups. So that was technically illegal. Let's have a cross-section of the excerpt to see what you had to say about that. Charlotte 84831 says, in one way, they are trying to improve their system, talk to their government and make demands. Maybe all the African countries need to do this, starting from Nigeria. All these Ghanaians, Ria is not going anywhere. Togo, Benin, and those Niger, 90% of them are here illegally. That is very misinformed, sir. Moving on. Oluwaseun Ojo says, imagine doing this to your fellow Africans, and if a white does it, we will be calling them racist. But black to black, let all African countries send all South African citizens in their country back to South Africa too, aura for aura. And now one of those tweets was extremely ignorant, mentioning that all African countries should send people back. We don't share that sentiment here, and we condemn that sentiment. Mr. Shomi, what do you make of this? A deadline has now been given, June 30th. These people are trying to enforce it. We've gone from just attacks and looting of shops to, aggressive sentiment to now actually being given a time frame. And these activist private groups saying we cannot guarantee your safety after this deadline. It's time for the president to really take a stand, don't you think? I mean, Ramaphosa in this case.
Honestly speaking, Ramaphosa actually did put himself in this trouble. When he was campaigning, I remember clearly he was trying to attribute, poverty to the presence of migrants and unemployment, to the presence of migrants in South Africa. Now, he won the election. Now he's back in power through a coalition and is now facing the wrath of South Africans. The real problem is this. Even if all Africans leave South Africa, will it redress, the injustices of the past where 80% of the arable lands, are owned by 20% of the white farmers and leaving the black people with little or nothing? Again, will it redress the issue of social divide, the inequality, the poverty, ravaging poverty? Will it create jobs in South Africa? Will it not worsen the situation of South Africa? For me, I think this is very, very bad and ugly, face being exhibited, by fellow black people in South Africa.
If you ask me, this is very shameful to watch that, your fellow black person would do this to you. I watched the conversation with, the man and the Congolese national, where he was saying that your safety will not be guaranteed and, you have to leave by this particular date. I asked myself, what's happening to the African Union? What are they saying about this? What are they actually doing about this? Also, the president of South Africa, if you ask me, I do not think he's really pulling his weight like that. He came out, he made a statement, but that wasn't strong enough, seeing what is happening. We know that this protest is actually illegal, so why is it happening? Why were the police not on ground? So these are questions that have to be asked. But also, I believe that South Africa should go back to the history book and read about the history. They need to understand how African countries gathered around them. So seeing them do this is quite very shameful.
It is a big shame to see things like this happening. This is the time where the president of South Africa should show leadership and be presidential. You just don't come out and make statements. You have to show the people that your administration will not tolerate xenophobic attacks. Now there's a deadline to it, 30th of June. I keep saying it anytime we're talking about this xenophobic thing, that it is very close to me, and I'm seriously concerned about this. Those guys will keep that deadline. They will enforce it. Is it when people start dying that Ramaphosa will finally stand up, and the African Union, which, man, let's just leave it there.
Together, divided we stand, divided before. Thank you so much for your input.